Baseball on the 4th of July. Time to celebrate our nation's independence. Happy birthday, U.S. Looking pretty good for 237. Baseball and beanbags on the 4th of July. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Arizona Diamondbacks. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and a happy 4th of July. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez with you today as the Mets close out their series with the Diamondbacks. The Mets won the first two games of the series. Arizona won last night. Mets head out on a road trip after the game today. 4th of July, it's a benchmark for baseball at the statistical midway point of the season for the Mets, and a day that seems to produce a lot of special memories. And I know for you the 19-inning game in Atlanta is one that always comes to mind, but maybe not the most special memory?
Well, most special memory for me was in AAA baseball, Tulsa Oilers playing at Mile High Stadium in Denver on July 4th. Full house, over 80,000 people, minor leaguers playing in that kind of crowd. $110,000 worth of fireworks over the center field fence. Well, it blew up all in 45 seconds. People were flying over the center field fence for their lives, and when it was over, it was a flash of light. It was 82,000 people with a collective boo. And that's one of my, not fondest memories, but I'll never forget that day.
Well, we had a fireworks display here at Citi Field last night. It was much more tempered than that. No explosions here. And the Mets will play on the 4th of July here. Last night, Matt Harvey had a rough night, and he has certainly been a huge story for the Mets so far this season. But the rest of the Mets starting pitching has also been on a terrific roll, and Dylan G has been a big part of that.
Well, Dylan G now is one game from getting back to 500. This will be his 17th start. Remember, he started the season, his first 10 starts, he was 2-6, and then all of a sudden there was talk of him going to the bullpen. Well, he's picked it up then. His last 6 starts, he's gone 4-1, and as I said, he is looking to even that record. Career starts against Arizona, 3 starts, he's 1-1.
Last start, a victory against the Nationals. He's throwing harder right now than he was earlier in the season, and he's picked it up with the strikeouts as well. So G goes this afternoon for the Mets. Ian Kennedy will pitch for the Diamondbacks. 2 years ago, he was a 21-game winner, but things have not gone well for Kennedy so far this year.
Well, he finished 4th in the Cy Young that year, 2 years ago, when he won 21 games. He hasn't pitched that badly. He's a guy that's hit 9 batters this year. He's 4-0 against the Mets lifetime. That's a good sign for him. He's had 2 horrific starts where he gave up 6 runs in 5 innings, and then in St. Louis in June, boy, he gave up 10 runs. So that's why the ERA's jacked up. He's a guy that throws strikes, sinker ball pitcher, gives up a lot of home runs.
So the Mets and Diamondbacks on the 4th of July. Mets with a chance for a winning homestand with a win this afternoon at Citi Field. All the action coming your way today right here on SNY. Farm. Today's State Farm agent of the day is Pat Cawley of Glendale, New York. Contact Pat's office at patcawley.com. By Audi, Truth in Engineering. By Grown Ups 2 in theaters July 12th. And by Modell's. Visit models.com and gear up. You can send David Wright to the 2013 MLB All-Star Game. Vote on Mets.com and select Mets as your favorite club to be eligible for daily prizes, a meet and greet with David Wright, and an exclusive ticket offer. Voting ends tonight. Here's your Mets upcoming schedule presented by the Hospital for Special Surgery. You can listen to all Mets games on Sports Radio 66 and Sports Radio 101.9 FM WFAN. Mets begin a 9-game road trip leading up to the All-Star break tomorrow night in Milwaukee. 3 with the Brewers, 3 in San Francisco against the world champions, and then 3 in Pittsburgh against the team with the best record in baseball. Mets wearing special caps on the 4th of July, white with the stars and stripes. Dylan G hydrating on a hot day in New York, getting ready for the start. Mets and Diamondbacks on the 4th of July. First pitch coming right up. Back in there after getting a day off yesterday, leading the National League in RBIs. Gerardo Parra back in for the first time since Monday. Remember, he slammed into the warning track and cut up his face and his arm, so he is back in there. Day off for Miguel Montero with a day game after a night game, so Will Nieves will catch. Dylan G on the mound for the Mets, trying to even up his record at 7-7.
Well, we talked in the open about Dylan coming back in his last 6 starts, really pitching well. He had the one bad start in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia and Ryan Howard seemed to have his number. And ironically, the one loss over those 6 starts, he lost a tough one. He went 8 innings, so gave up 2 runs and sucked up an L. And we'll look at the Mets' Lexus defense, and Recker has earned himself a little more playing time. Has he not hit the home run in the first game of the series that got the Mets on the board off that tough second game, Corbin, off the left-hander Corbin, their ace. Satin, Murphy, Quintanilla right. On the infield, Young, Lagares back in the lineup, and Bird and right.
Well, these two teams finished playing about 12 and a half hours ago in a rain-delayed game last night into this morning, and now right back at it this afternoon. Tony Campana, who made his Diamondbacks debut yesterday, went 0 for 4, but stole a base and threw out a runner at second base. And the speedster will lead off against Dylan G. And the first pitch on this 4th of July is a fastball in for a strike. 0-1. Campana, then Martin Prado and Paul Goldschmidt for the Diamondbacks, who begin the day 2 games over 500 and 2.5 games in the lead in the National League West.
Well, Campana did not get a hit in his first game, first time in the lineup since his call up, but he did score a run, leadoff walk.
Slow ground ball, got to hurry with Campana running, and Murphy double clutches and he loses the play, and that's what speed will do. Murphy knew he had to hurry, and because of that, unable to pull it out of the glove cleanly and loses the play.
Yep, it's called the exchange, and was that one little double pump. You can see when he pulls it out of the glove, it doesn't quite have it in the palm of his hand to throw, and that's all it takes. Campana hustling down the line.
Error charge to Murphy to start the game. Campana may be the fastest man in the major leagues. And if he can find his way on base, he can be a big boon for this Arizona team. And he's on base to start this game. Now Martin Prado moved up to the 2-hole today. Campana stole his first base of the year last night. He's got 55 career stolen bases. This is a guy who has fewer than 325 career at bats. So when he gets on, he generally tries to run. Prado 4 for 9 in this series, and G checks in on Campana. Prado playing second base today after playing third base in this series. Hit a home run against Jeremy Hefner on Tuesday night. Campana's in motion. Recker with a good throw on one hop, but dropped by Murphy, and safe is Campana.
Well, tough play for Murph there. I know the fans are kind of moaning and groaning here, but this is an in-between hop. Fastball right down the middle. Good ball for Recker to throw, and a good throw would have had him. But a tough chance for Murph.
Well, it appeared that if he caught the ball cleanly, he might have had a shot at him.
Yep.
But the ball slipped out of the glove. It will be a stolen base for Campana, so he's now 2 for 2 for the Diamondbacks, and a rough beginning to the day for Murphy. Campana at second with nobody out, a 1-strike count to Prado with Paul Goldschmidt, the National League's leading RBI man, on deck. And Prado lines one, and Murphy able to snag it and gets the double play. Third time's the charm for Murphy. Snagged it in the webbing, 2 men down.
Well, nice leap by Murph. Campana did not freeze. Easy double play. So you want to check where that ball's hit, know where your second baseman's at. He knew, he saw, he just didn't think Murph would have the leaping ability.
Well, the afternoon has gotten off to an entertaining start for Daniel Murphy. Error, drop on a potential steal, and then a brilliant leaping grab to start a 4-6 double play.
Jumping Johnny Hawkins right there.
Yes, indeed. So 2 out and nobody on for Goldschmidt, and he takes a fastball for a strike. Goldschmidt got the night off last night. Did come up as a pinch hitter in the 8th inning and fly it out. 2 for 11 in this series. 20 home runs. That's 4th in the National League. 69 RBIs. Leads the league. And G jams him, and he fouls it back. 0-2.
Talked with Bob Brenly before the game. Bob, of course, the former manager of these, managed the World Championship team here in Arizona. He's doing the TV now for the Diamondbacks. He said it's Goldschmidt's first little dry spell where he hasn't looked good at the plate.
Breaking ball hit on the ground is short, comes up for Quintanilla, and he makes the play on Goldschmidt to end the inning. So an inning that began promisingly for the Diamondbacks disappears into the glove of Daniel Murphy. Murph starting the line drive double play gets G through the first.
Temperature in the upper 80s. Here's your Geico Mets starting lineup today. Anthony Recker gets a start behind the plate for the second time in the last 3 games. Juan Lagares back in center field after Kirk Neuenhuis played there yesterday. Mets have won 11 of their last 18, and today they face 28-year-old Ian Kennedy.
Well, you see his numbers. And the stats brought to you by Toyota. Doesn't walk people. Boy, he's given up a lot of home runs, though. He's given up 15 home runs in those 89 innings, and he's hit 9 batters.
Eric Young leads things off and takes a strike. Young hitting .333 in his 14 games as a Met, .267 overall. He continues to do a job in the leadoff spot. Not stealing bases in the leadoff spot, but certainly getting on base and driving in runs. A ball and a strike to Young with Daniel Murphy and David Wright to follow.
There you go.
Dressed for the day.
In the spirit. And one of those 9 hit by pitches, Gary, was got him a suspension.
Well, it's been a star-crossed year for Kennedy in many fashions. He hasn't pitched particularly well. His walks are up. His strikeouts are down. Keith mentioned his home runs are up. Led the league in hit batsmen last year, and he's leading again this year. So he's a guy who will pitch inside. That's part of his history. But he threw 1 errant pitch too many when he drilled Zach Greinke and led to a huge brawl between the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks.
Well, the hit to the head. Yeah, I believe all in retaliation, but I've never condoned head hunting.
And he strikes out Young to start the bottom of the first.
And we're going to have Ralph Kiner in the booth today. I'm sure Ralph can chime in on that. Ralph played in an era where there was a lot more throwing at hitters than there are today. Probably more than my time also.
Well, Kennedy had already hit Yasiel Puig in that game, and then there was retaliation. Montero got hit in the back, and it looked like the whole thing was done. And then Kennedy went the extra mile and hit Greinke, who had hit Montero, and that inflamed the whole thing, and Kennedy wound up with a 10-game suspension. Daniel Murphy, who homered last night, pops up on the first pitch he sees, as he did last night, and the left fielder Cody Ross puts it away, 2 out.
We'll take a look now real quickly at the front-running Coors Light Diamondback defense, and Parra back in the lineup. That sensational attempt on that to catch that ball where he scraped himself up pretty badly. Had to leave the game. He's back in the lineup. Of course, a Gold Glover. Just really a tremendous effort. There he is.
Hand is still bandaged from that spill he took on the warning track in the opening game of the series.
No, he was lucky it wasn't an old Stade Olympique when you had the AstroTurf and the rubber synthetic warning track. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah, they had that at Dodger Stadium too.
And that's where the manager of Cleveland, Francona, Terry. That's where Terry was off to a great start, 300 hitter, and he tore his knee up going back to the wall against the Mets, I believe, or it was the Cardinals. Not sure which team I was on, but I was on the opposing team. Tore up his knee. Was never the same.
Kennedy quickly ahead on David Wright 0-2, and he misses high with the fastball. David's done well against Kennedy in the past, 4 for 11 with a couple of home runs, despite the fact that Kennedy has won all 4 of his career starts against the Mets. Patriotic fan.
Well, I must say, the first half of the season now, this is the 82nd game, so we are officially at the gate for the second half, and David Wright has had himself. Very nice, sir.
Did you know the guy was here? That's the guy.
What's the guy called? nice socks. But David's had himself a pretty steady first half.
Well, here's that up and in from Ian Kennedy. It's part of his game.
That was a slider. Mm-hmm. That was a backup slider. You know, if you remember last year, Ike Davis just hit 2 bombs off of him in Arizona, back-to-back, I believe. All fastballs, same pitch. Talk about stubborn.
Seventh pitch of the at-bat from Kennedy to Wright. And again up and in, this time with a fastball. And that'll get your attention.
Well, that's all fair. You want to pitch inside. And David, the book on David's in. Look at the catcher set up in. You don't want to miss in. So this is all fair game as far as I'm concerned.
Well, best response is to hit it hard somewhere. And David does, but right to the second baseman Prado to retire the side. 1-2-3 go the Mets in the bottom of the first. No score after one.
Three outs away from perfection. The first out was easy enough. Leron Lee was next. Lee's single to center halted the no-hit effort. Seaver induced Colbert to ground into a game-ending double play to preserve the shutout and the fourth one-hitter of his career.
Eric Chavez leading off the second. Grounds the first pitch to Josh Satin, 1 out. Klondike bringing us this date in Mets history, 1972, 4th of July.
All Tom had to do was get into another uniform to get his no-hitter.
Well, he had 3 efforts for the Mets in which he carried no-hitters into the ninth. Of course, the most famous one in 1969 with Jimmy Qualls breaking it up with 2 outs to go to a perfect game. Leron Lee with that hit against Seaver for the Padres in 72 on the 4th of July. And then Joe Wallace broke up a no-hitter in the ninth inning at Wrigley Field against Tom. Difference there is it was a scoreless game in the bottom of the ninth, so even had he gotten through 9, there was no guarantee he would have gotten a no-hitter. Cody Ross leading off in the second, or up second in the second.
Wasn't it Harvey Haddix who had the no-hitter that went into extra innings?
Well, innings perfect.
And he lost, I believe.
Indeed. Quintanilla circling around the ground ball, throws out Ross 2 away. It was against the Milwaukee Braves. Harvey Haddix pitching for the Pirates, and they broke up the perfect game in the 13th, and then so Joe Adcock hit the ball over the fence, but then passed Hank Aaron on the bases, and they only got 1 run out of it. Anyway,
really?
So he went 12 perfect innings, retired 36 in a row, but did not get credit ultimately for a no-hitter.
And that Milwaukee Brave ball club was quite a powerhouse of a lineup. Harvey was a little guy, slight guy.
Here's Gerardo Parra, who got shaken up on the warning track on Monday, chasing an Omar Quintanilla triple. And he takes a strike from G. Parra hitting a .301, but he's had a rough road trip, just 4 for 28. Of course, this Diamondbacks team has had a rough road trip. They've gone 2-7 on this trip. That's what made that win for them so huge last night in beating Matt Harvey. Little looper over short, but Quintanilla back to get it. It's a quick inning for G. Throws just 5 pitches to set the side down in order. We go to the bottom of the second on the 4th of July. No score. Game Day on SNY.TV, featuring pitch-by-pitch coverage, player cards, and in-depth stats. Check out SNY Game Day during every Mets game. Now on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Marlon Byrd leads off the home second inning. Marlon 5 for 15 in this series. Had himself an unexpected first half. 12 home runs, 40 runs batted in. For a guy who came off the scrap heap to join the Mets this year. And he has the first hit in this game as he drives one to right center. And Byrd is aboard to start the home second.
Well, Marlon just continues to be consistent at the plate. Getting his base hits, getting his clutch hits, little leg kick, fastball down the middle, ball you can pull or play the other way. And he opts to go total right center field.
So the Mets have the leadoff man on, and now the red-hot Josh Satin, who last night added to his resume his first Major League home run. He's hit in 9 straight games, hitting .412 over those 9 games, and just continues to produce day after day. .491 on base percentage, .600 slugging percentage. And he pulls one foul, and that's rare for Satin, jumping on the first pitch.
Well, the book on Kennedy is that he likes to throw his fastball. Not afraid to throw it. That's why he's given up he's given up 15 home runs in 89 innings. That's on a pace over 30.
Got knocked out in the 5th inning of his last start in Atlanta last Saturday. Gave up 4 runs and 5 hits, a no decision game for him.
Good change there, sinking change. Watch the ball just sink here. Little turnover, nicely done. Got under the bat.
2 years ago, Kennedy had a career year, 21-4, 2.8 ERA. Last year won 15 games, but his ERA jumped more than a run. And this year, more than another run, up over 5.3 as the day begins. Satin hooks one in the air to left. Cody Ross drifting back. And onto the warning track to grab it. Tagging at first, Byrd trying to move up a base and stays on the bag. Nicely done by Marlon Byrd.
Well, a good throw gets him. A little out in front there, got fooled in the change, let go with one hand of track power there. If the throw's on line, he's got a shot to get Marlon, but Marlon realizing the ball's going to get caught. He'll come out here, watch. He knows it's going to get caught. I'm going to go back and see if I can tag.
Ross was in pretty good position to throw. And Byrd able to keep that hand on the bag as Prado went to make the tag. So runner in scoring position with 1 out. Now Anthony Recker. Recker started 2 nights ago and had a home run and an RBI single. So Recker getting his second start in 3 days, just his 16th start of the season for a guy who's been here all year.
That home run was in the bottom of the 5th off Pat Corbin in a scoreless game, so got the Mets on the board.
And then remember, right after that long rain delay, he came up with the bases loaded, got another base hit to drive in a run in that 7-run 7th inning. And Kennedy falls behind him 2-0. Terry Collins has said in the last couple of days that playing time might balance a little more. Buck has been playing 6 games out of 7. Buck, ironically enough, last night probably swung the bat better than he had in a month. Hit 3 balls hard.
Good cut right there in the fastball. Kennedy came over to Arizona back in the offseason of '09 and involved the Yankees and Detroit.
That was the deal that sent Max Scherzer from the Diamondbacks to the Tigers. Scherzer now 13-0.
And Curtis Granderson came from Detroit to the Yankees. Austin Jackson and Phil Koch went over to Detroit. It was a big trade.
And in its own way, it's worked out for all 3 teams. Recker lifts one along the right field line, and Parra is there. Tagging at second is Byrd, but he's not going to move. Parra's got a very strong arm. That's the 2nd out. So 2 away. Bird still at second, and now Omar Quintanilla. Omar is 5 for 12 in this series and has driven in 3 runs. Continues to play every day at shortstop. While Ruben Tejada now toils down in Las Vegas, trying to come back from his quad injury.
Well, Quintanilla had a little bit of trouble last night. He struck out 3 times, 0 for 3, all on changeups. Now Kennedy has a good changeup. Let's see if they go back to the well here. There's a changeup. Gave it away too. Kind of telegraphed it. Now, I will say, Randall Delgado last night, the winning pitcher for the Arizona, was very impressive.
Their first winning starting pitcher in more than 4 weeks. Imagine that. They went 24 straight games without a starting pitcher getting a win. It matched the longest, it was one shy of the longest such streak in National League history. Joe to Quintanilla with Juan Lagares on deck. Speaking of starting pitchers and quirks, Ian Kennedy pitching today here in Citi Field. He hasn't started a home game since May 15th. This is his 7th straight start on the road.
Wow.
Part of that because of the suspension. He missed a start that would have been at home. He also missed one when he cut his finger. He was washing a knife in the sink, just trying to help out around the house, and he cut the finger on his pitching hand.
You see, that's just not a job for men. They're always going to get hurt in that doggone kitchen, I'm telling you.
I think you should stop right there. I'm just saying.
I don't like to clean knives, let me tell you.
There's a fastball by Kennedy. Quintanilla swings through it 2-2.
My knives are very sharp, and I've been known to cut myself too.
Well, that's what happened to Ian Kennedy, and he missed a start in late May because of that. And that's why now, that in the suspension, that he's starting for the 7th straight time on the road. First time that's happened to any major league pitcher in 12 years. And Quintanilla foul tips in, so he's a strikeout victim to end the inning. Second strikeout for Kennedy. We'll go to the third. Ralph Kiner will join us when we come back. No score at Citi Field. We're at the holiday with us. How have you been? We haven't seen you in ages.
Well, like I said, I've been in some trouble health-wise, and it's really nice to be back here in this ballpark and watch baseball live and listen to you guys in person. It's a real pleasure.
Will Nieves will lead off the Diamondbacks in the third. Now it's 87 degrees today, but I understand this is a cool day for you.
I've been in Palm Springs, and it was 118 the other day there, so I'm used to warm weather. But I love the expression. It's dry heat. It's hot. It's not dry heat.
It's like walking into a blast furnace.
That's right. It really is. But the weather there has been unbelievably hot.
Now, I know you've gotten a chance to watch the Mets on TV over the last couple of months, and the phenomenon that has been Matt Harvey. What have been your impressions watching Matt on television?
I'm no different than anybody else that watches him play and knows what's going on. He reminds me an awful lot of Dwight Gooden. Has a real good fastball, of course, and a curveball. And he also has the attitude of you can't beat me. That's really the best thing. And he got beat last night. But one thing about it, he is certainly a great potential. When they come down to pitchers, and the best pitcher I ever saw was Bob Feller. Feller was over 100 miles an hour, and he threw a big curveball. And also was wild enough to keep everybody loose.
He strikes out Will Nieves for the first out, his first strikeout.
Big curveball here, Ralph.
Real good breaking ball. You see the real sharp break, and the ball moving, and that's what you really want. You don't want those hangers.
Well, that's what Harvey gave up last night, the 3-run home run to Cody Ross. I don't know if you saw it. He hung a slider, curveball, belt high, inner half, and he hit a home run. He pulled it down the left field line. It was a 2-0 game, became a 3-2 Diamondback win. Lead.
Cliff Pennington takes out of the strike zone. Here's the home run by Ross.
There it is right there, Ralph, just hanging.
Ross has been around a lot, and he's had a reputation of having good power and being a potentially better player than he is.
I thought it was interesting listening to Matt Harvey's comments after the game last night about how the rain delay affected him. That he was all geared up and ready to go, and that maybe he had lost his edge a little bit by 9 o'clock when the game started.
You know, you can blame it on everything else, but the one thing about baseball is that when the ball is not thrown the correct way and the ball does not move the way you want it to move, then you have problems, and that's what Ross did. Took a non-breaking ball.
Back-to-back strikeouts for G as he gets Pennington 2 out.
Well, if the pitchers could put it wherever they wanted to all the time, Ralph, there wouldn't be any 300 hitters.
And that pitch all the time would be a tough pitch to hit. Right in the outside part of the plate, and the ball up and away.
So here's Ian Kennedy, 5 hits this year, lifetime 144 hitter. Meanwhile, Dylan G off to a terrific start this afternoon, continuing what he has wrought since his game at Yankee Stadium in late May, when he struck out 12 against the Yankees, and he seems to have taken that and run with it, except for that little hiccup against the Phillies.
Well, the Phillies seem to have his number, and certainly Ryan Howard has his number. Hit 2 home runs off him on that game. Good breaking ball he's got going today. He's really got it working.
Well, that's Will Nieves, the catcher, taking a little snooze between them.
I've never seen that.
It's like Ernie Lombardi.
Has he got a headache?
Now, you just said something derogatory toward Ernie Lombardi.
No, I didn't.
I did.
Gary did.
There was that famous play where they called it Lombardi's snooze when he didn't tag out a runner who was coming to home plate.
But Lombardi was one of the great hitters that ever was around. Of course, he was the slowest runner that ever played in the major leagues. And they played the outfield and infield deep as it could be.
G strikes out the side in the third inning. G off to a terrific start. No score at Citi Field.
Supposed to play a simple night game with a 4th of July fireworks show to follow over Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. What followed was a 6-hour, 10-minute game that went 19 innings, and that does not include a pair of rain delays totaling more than 2 hours themselves. The Mets managed to bang out a franchise record 28 hits and then nearly blew 3 extra inning leads before hanging on for a hard-earned 16-13 victory. The most exciting win most Mets fans never even saw since the game ended just before 4 a.m.
Infinity bringing us this date in baseball history. And Keith, we've heard from you about that game in 1985. You hit for the cycle that day.
Yep.
Ralph, what do you remember about that game?
Well, the whole thing was it lasted a long time. I could break it down to just about that. And we had a cab lined up to take us back to the hotel. And the cab fare was something that was horrendous, because that thing kept ticking on. And I remember that the hotel was, well, it was impossible. They say the birth rate in the town went up on that night.
There's a story about it was a nursing home fairly close to the ballpark, and they were concerned about the residents there because they all got very, very scared because they were hearing fireworks at 4 o'clock in the morning. Thought that something really bad was happening.
They did continue the whole thing and do the fireworks that late.
Juan Lagares leading off in the home 3rd inning. And Lagares goes down on strikes. 3rd strikeout for Kennedy. 1 out in the home 3rd. 28 hits for the Mets that day. That's a club record.
The last 2 at bats for me, I went 4 for 10 with the cycle. I should have went 5 for 10. And Terry Tata cost me. I should have got that cycle in regulation. We won't go into that. But my last 2 at bats, I was so exhausted that I just rolled over 2 ground balls to second base. And the last one, I was so tired, I hit it to Glenn Hubbard at second, and I just hardly got to first base.
Tom Gorman went 6 innings and got the win, despite the spectacle of giving up the 17th inning or 18th inning home run to Rick Camp on an 0-2 pitch when Camp was one of the worst hitters in baseball.
And then, ironically, Camp made the final out, right? Ron Darling put him away.
Now, the oft recited fallacy is that Ronnie got a save. That's not actually true. He came in with a 4-run lead and gave up a run.
Right, and I made an error in that inning. I think it was an unearned run.
Duly noted.
I was tired. I couldn't even bend over.
Dylan G takes a strike. So he's down on strikes. Third straight strikeout for Kennedy. 2 out in the third.
I remember my father called me the next day, and because he was an old ball player, he knew not to call me until around 2 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time. Called me from California and said, "What the heck is wrong with Davy Johnson?" He goes, "You got Carter with bad knees. He caught the whole game. How can you catch Carter on those bad knees the whole game?" Gary caught that whole entire game.
Well, he had a couple of rain delays to rest.
Yeah, he did.
You know, the longest game in innings played was 26. And both pitchers went the entire distance. And also in that ball game, there was no run scored. And that was the longest game ever played in innings played.
I think it was Joe Eschker.
Do you remember
and
those names?
Leon Cador. It was the Braves
right,
and the Dodgers,
yes.
right?
Yeah, you're right. And the reason why it was stopped was it was dark. They had no lights in those days, and it was black.
How long was that game when the Cardinal game that I played in when Big McBride scored?
It was 25.
25?
It was the longest game ever played to a decision. Eric Young takes up and in, 2-1. Young struck out his first time up.
I'd like to know who did Kiner's Corner after that game. If Ralph had a Kiner's Corner after that 25-inning game.
They didn't have television in those days. Thank God for that.
But I remember that 25-inning game with the Cardinals, Ralph. You had gone down to the to your little studio for Kiner's Corner, like you normally did, late in the ball game. And they kept showing shots of you sitting there waiting for Kiner's Corner. And finally, at 3:30 in the morning, you had Bake McBride on as your guest.
You know what the producer of that show did? He had bottles of beer laying on the floor all over the place like I was drinking the beer.
Prado squeezes the pop-up by Young. A 1-2-3 inning for Kennedy. On to the fourth we go. That's Ronnie at 3:55 in the morning, striking out Rick Kemp. And finally putting an end to the July 4th game well into July 5th.
Gosh.
The next game to be played here will be, well, the Futures game a week from Sunday, and then the All-Star game on the 16th. Tony Campana trying to bunt his way on. It's a foul ball. Recker throwing it down to first, but that ball was clearly in the batter's box. So Campana will come back to the plate. Campana reached on an error by Murphy, stole a base in the first inning. He got doubled off on a line drive, and Dylan G has not allowed a base runner since.
Looks like the cat in the hat.
Comes back. Corners are in against Campana with his speed. And G comes up and in. G struck out the side in the third inning, only the second time this year he's done that.
Struck out the side with an outstanding breaking ball.
It's 27 pitches in the first 3 innings for G. Slap to the left side. Tough play for Quintanilla against Campana's speed. Safe.
Wow.
And that's what he can do. Even on a routine ground ball, Campana able to beat it. First hit off Dylan G.
I'm telling you. I mean, Quintanilla does everything he can possibly do. Watch him. He charges quick. He comes in and gets it and throws on the run. Boy.
Mike Everett with the call at first base. I mean, this kid can just fly. So now Martin Prado, who lined into the double play his first time up on a brilliant leaping grab by Murphy at second base. Campana stole the base in the first inning. He went on first pitch. See if he does the same here.
He has a short lead, as a matter of fact.
We'll take a look at the play at the first. Let's see. And the call is correct. He beat it by a half step. Boy, I wish I could have run like that. Ralph, you probably too.
Yes, I could
That'd
too.
probably have been around another 100 hits for us in our career.
But you know what? He probably wishes he could have hit like you guys. We always want something we can't have.
Well, you know, then there's the Clementes who can run. Hank Aaron could run. Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle.
Well, Charlie Finley had a guy that only ran.
That's right.
Herb Washington was a sprinter. Wasn't even a baseball player.
Oh, it just missed by much. Looked like Recker thought it was a strike. His reaction here. This is that good curveball Dylan's got working for him. That didn't miss by much. Jeez, what are we going to do? Get a strike?
It certainly looked like a strike.
That was a piece of the home plate.
Got to give me that pitch, Ump. Come on.
1-1 to Prado. There goes Campana. Recker's throw is perfect, and Campana is tagged out. You can't make a better throw than Anthony Recker just did, and Campana's gunned down.
Well, the first inning, Recker had made a tough throw to Murphy. Would have had him, but this time makes the perfect throw.
Boy, that is really perfect. I like that.
And
Well,
Campana tried the old okey doke, but that didn't work.
Yeah, so whenever they try the old okey doke, you just tag them. Just go get them. Don't fall for all that shenanigans.
So 1 out and nobody on. And now G falls behind on Prado, 3-1. First 3-ball count of the afternoon for G, with Paul Goldschmidt waiting on deck. Well, Campana's game is speed. He's going to run at every opportunity. That time he was had. Prado hits it out to right, and Marlon Byrd's right there. 2 out.
Well, we'll take a look at the footwork. With no wasted motion.
One step and fire it down there, and a perfect throw.
That is picture perfect fundies, and Murph, just go get him. He does that stuff, just go tag him. You got it. Go take that act to Broadway.
So Campana's been on base twice. He's been erased both times. And G gets ahead on Goldschmidt with a slider, 0-1.
Boy, I tell you.
That was a good slider right there.
He's got it working. He has got it firing.
That was major league right there.
Well, for a guy who's pitching with tendonitis in his forearm and been troubling him from time to time this year. G seems to be operating at a higher level than he has in a long time. Stays with the slider. 2 balls and a strike. Eric Chavez would be next. And Goldschmidt bangs one off his leg, a foul ball. 2-2.
You know, the thing about baseball, it changes all the time. And one of the changes in baseball that has changed since I was playing baseball and broadcasting is the fact that you see more and more left-hand pitchers in the game. In the old days, you saw one really good left-hand pitcher, and in the days right now, you might see 4.
Well, the Mets just went through a stretch where they faced 11 left-handed starters in 15 games. That's high ball 4, and Goldschmidt's on with G's first walk of the day.
And you know, one thing about that is the fact that left-hand batters have always had some trouble with left-hand pitching. And with more and more left-hand pitchers in the game, left-hand batters are going to be maybe a screwer.
Here's Chavez, who grounded out to first base his first time up. You have to watch Goldschmidt at first. He's a big guy, but he can run a little bit. He's got 8 steals this year in 9 tries.
Grounded out to shortstop his first time up. They play him straight away with the second baseman deep back in the grass.
Strike with a changeup, and it's 1-1. Goldschmidt almost leaning the wrong way.
Outfield and center field very shallow.
And Chavez pulls one down the line. Foul. 1-2. Everybody in baseball wearing these special caps for the 4th of July today. It's been a long time since the Mets have worn a white cap. They had them briefly in the mid-90s. They wore them for about a half dozen games before they went in a different direction. These are for one day only. Now the 1-2, and curveball slips, and it's 2-2.
We had a pitcher on the Pittsburgh Pirates while I played there, and his name was G, not G.
Spelled the same way?
Spelled the same way.
Really?
And later on became a principal at a high school. Couldn't pitch.
That's a problem if you're a pitcher. Chavez goes down on the high fastball, and G has his 4th strikeout of the day. Still no score at Citi Field. Daniel Murphy leads off for the Mets in the home 4th inning against Ian Kennedy. Each team's had only one hit. Murphy flied to left on the first pitch he saw in the opening inning. Murphy right in Bird for the Mets in the bottom of the 4th. And Murph first pitch swinging again. This time drives one to right. But Parra gets back to grab it. One pitch and one out. Well, the All-Star game is coming up at Citi Field. 49 years ago, the only All-Star game to be played in Flushing was held in Shea Stadium's first season. Mr. Met was on hand. Juan Marichal wound up getting the win in relief for the National League.
Ron Hunt.
Ron Hunt, the first ever All-Star starter for the Mets. There's Mickey Mantle. All-Star game coming up a week from Tuesday here at Citi Field.
Of course, Johnny Callison was the hero of that All-Star game at Shea.
Johnny Callison was the hero of that game. And Callison was a player out of L.A., and the same scout signed him as signed me. Hollis Thurston, the pitcher, pitched for Brooklyn.
Don Drysdale started against Dean Chance in that All-Star game in '64. Played in the daytime back then. They didn't start playing the All-Star game at night until the '70s.
All the All-Star games were played in the daytime, and I don't know when that changed where the night ball came into effect.
I think it was in the early '70s that they changed that. But what's also notable about the way the All-Star game is played is Wright drives one to the gap in left center field, and he's got himself another extra base hit. Well, David had a home run and a double last night. He's got his 19th double of the year.
Well, David's been really consistent. Loves that ball down, Ralph.
And one thing about David is the fact that he got closer to the plate, and he pulls more balls now and hits the ball to left center field.
So David, the Mets have their first extra base hit of the game.
David, to me, was not helping himself by hitting deep in the batter's box. That way you have to hit the ball to right field, and it's harder to do that than it is to pull the ball.
So now Marlon Byrd, who had the first Met hit, a single to center field in the second. That one gets away from Nieves. He can't find it. Wright takes the turn at third, and he'll hold on there.
Well, this is going to be probably rolled a wild pitch because it's in the dirt, but very poor fundies by Nieves right there. Backhanding instead of getting in front. And it's okay to do that once in a while, but in the tight ball game, runner in scoring position, and you're going to let him advance to third, you've really got to be focused back there.
Well, early in this game, Kirk Gibson's going to play his infield back. Try and stay out of the big inning so it can concede the run on a ground ball.
Interesting that only the first baseman, Goldschmidt, is in. Really kind of in nowhere's land.
And Bird hits it to the right side. That'll get the run in. Prado throws out Bird. Wright comes in to score, and the Mets have a 1-0 lead. Double, a wild pitch, and a ground out produce a run.
You know, the one thing about hitting the ball like that by Bird, he made great contact and hit the ball the way you should. Right on the good part of the bat and hard to second base, and no result.
Ralph, we were talking about the All-Star game in 1964, but I want to talk about your biggest All-Star moment. Was it the home run you hit in 1950?
1950, I had a home run to tie the game in the 9th inning. I have a record that no one else has in the All-Star game. I had home runs in 3 consecutive games.
So I got to ask you the question. When you played the All-Star game, were you swinging for the tater?
Yes.
It was all or nothing.
All the time.
Well, weren't you always swinging for the home run?
Yes, I was. Home run hitters drive Cadillacs, and singles hitters drive Ford.
What are you talking about?
Well, no.
Well, what did RBI guys drive?
Well, the RBIs come with the home runs.
Let's see, 49 he hit one off Lou Brissy,
That's
the 1
right.
in 50 off Art Howdeman, and 51 off Mel Parnell.
That's right.
Parnell was a great lefty for the Red Sox.
Parnell, a great pitcher for the Red Sox. And Hodelman was the home run that tied the game in the 9th inning.
That was where, in Chicago?
So I'll go at the White Sox Park.
Comiskey, huh?
That might have been the greatest All-Star game ever played. He won 14 innings, Haynes hit the home run, and won the game. And it was about that time that the American League was beating up on the National League. And that game, the National League won and got back in the act.
Those things seem to run in cycles.
It does. Of course, my generation, it was all National League.
Strike 3 called. Satin is out on strikes, and the inning is over, but the Mets scratch out the game's first run. Well, Ralph, it was great having you back. We look forward to seeing you very shortly in the future.
You know something? This is fun.
Good. We should do it more often.
You've done this before.
I have. This is my 54th year, I think it is.
Bottom of the 4th. G has been right on top of his game so far this afternoon. He's given up just an infield hit, a walk, and 4 strikeouts over the first 4. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Bob's Discount Furniture, proud to be the furniture store of the New York Mets. G late getting back to the mound. I don't know if he was changing his shirt, which might be a healthy thing to do on a day like today. Temperature in the high 80s and very high humidity. I knew when Doc Gooden used to pitch on days like this, he'd change his shirt every inning because he sweated like no man.
Doc was like he jumped in the shower.
Cody Ross will lead things off for the Diamondbacks in the 5th. Diamondbacks have lost 8 of their last 10. They finally go home after the game today. The Mets are heading to Milwaukee to play the Brewers. The Brewers are playing in Washington today. They started that game at 11 a.m. in D.C. 11 a.m. Could you imagine if we were playing today at 11 a.m.?
I think you'd have to reschedule it to 1. What time did you get home last night?
I got home about 1:45.
I got home at 2.
Up at 6 and ready to go.
You were up at 6?
Yeah.
I had set my alarm for 7:45, and if it wasn't for that alarm, I would not have awakened. I would have been in big trouble.
Well, I can guarantee you without an alarm, I would have slept till about now. Ross tries to turn one around, pulls it down the left field line, and that'll go out of play. A foul ball.
Yeah, you know what? We're just up here. These guys have got to go out there and play.
The schedule that the Mets have gone through the last, really going back to the beginning of the last road trip, I don't know how these guys are doing it. You had the 4-hour rain delay in Atlanta with the doubleheader the next day. They ended up playing 3 games in 24 hours. You had the end of that trip where they played Wednesday in Chicago, Thursday in Denver, and then Friday night back here, then a day game the next day. You had a 13-inning game on Monday, and then long rain delays each of the last 2 nights. I know these guys are young and healthy, but that is a brutal schedule.
It is. And what, you mentioned the 3 time zones?
Mm-hmm. And they're going to do that again.
They're going to do it again
next month.
I will. I will experience it.
Oh, good. I'm looking forward to having you along. Ross fouls it back in. It's 3-2. Yeah, they Mets went the first 51 years of their history without ever playing 3 straight days in 3 different time zones, and now they will have done it twice in 1 year. They'll go from San Francisco to Minnesota and back home.
Right.
On the same trip.
Right, and no off day because the off day is being covered in a makeup game in Minnesota. That's
right.
Snow out.
3-2 the count to Ross, and he takes it high, ball 4. Second walk given up by G. So it's the 3rd time in 5 innings that the Diamondbacks have had the leadoff man on, but each of the first 2 times that man was erased. So now Gerardo Parra will get a soft liner to short his first time up.
It's always good to see Ralph, isn't it?
You know, it adds an entirely different dimension to our broadcast, and you know, Ralph is such a part of the fabric not only of Mets history but of National League history. And it was when the Mets put together their first broadcast team in 1962, they did it with very specific parameters in mind. They hired 3 announcers, one of whom had a national broadcasting reputation in Lindsey Nelson, as Parra tries to drag a bunt, and he gets it through the hole. How about that? Ross will go to 3rd. Parra heads to 2nd with a bunt double.
How about that? I've never seen that. I have never seen someone bunt this hard and get a double out of it to boot. Wow.
Just when you think you've seen it all. A drag bunt double.
Jeez.
For Gerardo Parra.
And he smelled it from the get-go. He had double on his mind. That is pretty amazing play right there. And that's no one's fault defensively. That's
Everybody
just
did what
perfect.
they were supposed to do. He just bunted it so hard and directly through that hole. So, Mets with a 1-0 lead immediately in jeopardy. 2nd and 3rd and nobody out. Will Nieves the batter. Nieves struck out his first time up. And that's it toward the middle, a base hit. Ross is in to score. Parra right behind him. It's a 2-run single for Will Nieves. The ball gets loose on the infield, but G backs it up. And the Diamondbacks go right in front, 2-1. So a bunt, a walk, a bunt double, and now a 2-run single by the backup catcher Nieves. And the Diamondbacks have 2 home.
Well, Nieves, his first ball, it's a first ball slider hitting. Excuse me. Jeez. Mumbling here, and the throw kind of threw it around the Mets. But a high slider. Look at the turn here by Parra. That's an outstanding turn. And just like that.
Didn't take long, did it? Walk to Ross, and now 2 pitches later, the Diamondbacks have the lead. Here's the number 8 hitter, Cliff Pennington.
Leadoff walks are always ominous.
And Pennington, first pitch swinging, flies one out to Lagares in right center. And that's the first out of the inning. So 3 straight hitters put in the first pitch in play. And G finally has an out. And now the pitcher will be coming up.
That is the 12th RBI of the year for Nieves in only 8 at bats.
Nieves is a guy who has been around forever. He's 35 years old, 6 different teams, lifetime 238 hitter, but this year he's hitting just under 400. So he's having himself an unusually successful offensive year. Now Kennedy, and Mets will look for the bunt. He struck out his first time up. Anyway, just to complete the thought on Ralph, when the Mets put together their original broadcast team, they wanted a national announcer. They brought in Lindsey Nelson, who had a reputation mostly as a football guy. They wanted a guy who'd been doing day-to-day baseball, and that was Bob Murphy, who had done the Red Sox and the Orioles. But they also wanted somebody who had a National League reputation, somebody who would represent National League Baseball coming back to New York, and that was Ralph, who had been such a great star with the Pirates.
What years did Dizzy Dean do Game of the Week? Do you remember? Was it in the 60s?
That was before I can remember. It had to be late 50s and into the 60s.
I think it was the 60s because I remember Dizzy Dean in the booth. He was quite the character. And that might have been the beginning. I mean, TV was just starting, and he might have been one of the first athletes, ex-players, to get in the booth.
Well, Joe Garagiola joined the booth with the Yankees, much to Red Barber's dismay in the 50s.
Red wanted a solo?
He just didn't like the idea of players being broadcasters.
Was he difficult for Joe? Did he make it difficult?
I think, from what I understand, Red was difficult for a lot of people.
Okay.
But he was adamant about the fact that ex-athletes couldn't be announcers. 1-2 to Kennedy, and he takes strike 3 called. That's the 5th strikeout for G, the 2nd out of the inning.
Didn't they once say the earth was flat?
I believe they once did. I believe that's been disproven.
Mr. McCarver kind of changed everything, I believe, as far as I'm concerned. I was a team that he was covering.
And I think preceding McCarver, I think Tony Kubek did a lot to advance the craft of the ex-player analyst.
And I think that Joe Garagiola did a wonderful job, too.
Tony Campana 1 for 2, had an infield hit his last time up. No, what the Mets did with their original broadcast team was spectacular, because those 3 guys were just the perfect fit for a new team. And Lindsey, Ralph, and Bob were the only voices of the Mets for their first 17 years. Imagine that, TV and radio. Usually 1 guy on radio, 2 guys on TV, and they'd switch as the game went along. And, you know, for people growing up in New York, like myself, with this new team, they were the sound of the Mets. For many people, they remain that sound. Dizzy started in 1952 on the national broadcast, and he went till 65.
Okay.
As a call strike. What I remember is Kurt Gowdy and Pee Wee Reese doing the games in the mid-60s.
Yep. Pee Wee was a good man. I remember Pee Wee, when I was coming up in the minor leagues and early in my career in the major leagues, he was with Louisville Slugger.
Because he was from Louisville.
Right.
1-2 to Campana, and the curveball misses.
Pee Wee was always very nice to me. Always nice to the minor leaguers. He'd come down and try to sign you to that contract for Louisville, and really that Adirondack was the only other competitor, and it just was coming in. Because basically Louisville had a monopoly on bats, I would think. And when Adirondack came in, I could never it had the ring around the just below the label. That's how you could tell it was an Adirondack. It was around a 3/4 of an inch ring in thickness, and it would be the color of your team.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Little bloop, shallow right, and that's going to fall for a base hit. Nieves stops at second, and Campana has his 2nd hit of the game. So he had an infield hit in the 4th, and now a bloop hit here in the 5th.
Well,
what a strange inning this has been for Dylan G. By the way, our statistician Dave Freed looked it up. Earlier this season, Juan Pierre had a bunt double. Now, I don't know if it went exactly the way Pires did in this inning. So G hurting himself with a leadoff walk to Cody Ross. Then Pires, that strange bunt for a double. Nieves plates a pair. Now Campana with a 2-out hit. Diamondbacks have taken a 2-1 lead, and they've got Martin Prado coming up with 2 out and 2 on.
You just want to keep it a 1-run ball game here. It's a tough out. And Prado.
Well, everything was going swimmingly for G over the first 4 innings. Not so much here in the 5th. Prado was lined into a double play and flied out. 0 for 2. G and Prado have seen plenty of each other. Now 22 at bats for Prado against G. Just 4 hits in those 22 at bats. And G works him inside. Ball 1. The Diamondbacks 2 runs and 4 hits. The Mets 1 run and 2 hits. I want to hear something amazing. This is only the 3rd time in G's last 9 starts at Citi Field that he's given up more than 1 earned run. That's how well he's pitched in this ballpark. That goes back to the end of last year. Quintanilla is right and takes his time and throws out Prado. That retires the side, but the Diamondbacks played a pair. Will Nieves with a 2-run single halfway through on the 4th of July, 2-1 Arizona. Better.
Well, look, watch him cut the turn here to make this double. That's outstanding. Spada on that bunt. Now, right here, I'd like to see him more out here so they can make the turn, but he's just let it go, guys. He's looking over his shoulder, and he shouldn't, but he just makes a very tight turn. I used to always take my lead at second base 5 feet out into the outfield, not directly in the line. Why? That line I drew, you're 5 feet deeper, it allows you to make that sharper turn, and it's really not making any further distance from second to third when you're running to third. It just gives you a better angle to make that sharp turn. A lot of guys have got thrown out because of big wide turns.
Anthony Recker leads off the home 5th. For the younger viewers, does it make a difference whether you use your left foot or your right foot to hit the bag?
You know what? We were talking about it, and I'm trying to visualize in my mind. I mean, how many times did I run the bases? I mean, I scored over 1,000 runs. I had to make a lot of turns. I think Parra has it right. I think you want to hit it with your right foot. Right there. And I would love to get on the bases and just do it, you know, one day, and not. Hopefully, I wouldn't pull my hamstring.
We can arrange that.
It's funny how when you get out of the game, and how long have I been out of the game now? Think about that. My last year was 91 officially, but I was out all year with the back surgery. I didn't put a uniform on. So really the last time I had a uniform on was 1990. You're talking 23 years ago, almost a quarter century.
We've seen you on the field since then.
Well, it's not the same. Anyway, I don't count 1990. I was impersonating a major leaguer that year. I was finished.
That was your 1 year in Cleveland. Your last year here was 1989.
Yes, the broken kneecap that year, that just did me in when I collided with Dave Anderson, who did the Dodgers in that double play. And that was the end of me.
It was very disappointing to me because that was my first year, and I didn't get to watch you every day at your best.
And Gary, you would have loved me, I guarantee you.
You were kind of a sourpuss that year, I have to say.
Well, I wasn't happy. I knew my career was coming to an end. I saw, shoot.
Try hard the fifth inning recap. Will Nieves with a 2-run single for the Diamondbacks to give them the lead after the Mets scratched out a run in the fourth on an RBI ground out by Marlon Byrd. Mets facing Ian Kennedy, who has gone from 21 wins to 15 wins to this year only 3, but he has himself a lead this afternoon. And Recker pulls one down to third. It comes up for Chavez, and he throws on target to get Recker one away. SNY's Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com.
I love that super slow.
Omar Quintanilla struck out 3 times last night, struck out his first at bat today. Mets have had just 2 hits against Kennedy, a single by Bird in the second and Wright's double in the fourth.
No, Omar was.
And Omar takes one the other way, and that's a base hit. Chased to the line by Ross. And Quintanilla easily to second base. Ross bobbles it, no impact. And Quintanilla has his 5th double of the year.
Oh, good. He breaks that string of 4 straight strikeouts over 2 days. Nice hitting. Fastball belt high, outside corner, running away. Hit it right perfectly.
So now Juan Lagares, who has struck out his first time up. Tying run at second with 1 out. The pitcher G is on deck. And Lagares lays off. Ball 1. Lagares hitting just 194 with runners in scoring position, but he was below 100 for a long time. He's gotten some big hits over the last 2 weeks as his playing time has increased.
He's an aggressive hitter. He went through a little stretch here in this homestand where he's been swinging at first pitches out of the strike zone, and I just hope he doesn't put the reins on. He's been taking too many pitches lately. Pitches to hit. Don't listen to too many people. You know, as a young guy that swings the bat, now he's taking pitches.
Questioning that last call by Tim Welke, the home plate umpire.
And it was a strike. They want to go up and in here. No, you're going to set up away.
Kennedy ahead 1 and 2. Takes a look back at Quintanilla, who's not a base stealing threat.
That sign was for him to give the runner at second a look.
Prado creeping in. And Lagares fouls it off. Sunday, it's the Viewer's Choice Show. The crew answers all your Jets questions. Plus, Janae Coakley heads to California for a behind-the-scenes look at Camp Cromartie on Jets Nation. New episode Sunday at 7, only on SNY. One-two to Lagares, and he fouls away the fastball. Here's today's AT&T trivia question. I think we've already answered this one, so if you were paying attention.
Yeah, that's right.
Who was the first Mets player to start in an All-Star game?
And if you were really paying attention, all you diehard Met fans that never miss a broadcast, it was my first major league spring training roommate when I got invited to camp when I was 19 years old.
One of the Mets' first stars. Kennedy comes up and in and strikes out Lagares. Not the pitch he wanted, but he gets the result he wanted. 6th strikeout.
Catcher sets up away. Change up. Boy, he got away with that. Crowded him inside. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
So 2 out. Quintanilla still at second, and it's left to Dylan G. He has 3 hits and 2 RBIs this season. Looking to pick up Quintanilla from second with 2 out.
And it's lined to center field, a base hit. Here comes Quintanilla around third. Campana unleashes the throw to the plate. Not in time. The game is tied. G down to second, and he is safe. 2-2. Dylan G drives in his 3rd run of the year and gets himself back even.
Well, try to get me over fastball to get ahead of the pitcher, and nice short stroke. Nice throw by Campana.
And then Nieves double clutched on his throw to second.
Now you notice why G's out, dead to rights, going to second, and you want with 2 outs here to draw the cutoff throw. If they draw the cutoff throw, the run scores. It could be a close play at the plate, and you're out at second. You got top of the order next inning. And if he'd have been running a little harder, he's just probably happy he got a big hit.
Well, now he's in scoring position, carrying the lead run, and Eric Young will try and get him in. Each team now with 2 runs and 4 hits. Young is 0 for 2. He's struck out and popped up. Eric has done a remarkable job out of the leadoff spot, driving in runs in his brief tenure with the Mets.
This is his weak side of the plate. He's a better right-hand hitter.
7 for 15 with runners in scoring position since joining the Mets. 10 RBIs in 14 games. It's a lot for a leadoff hitter. But he pops this one up. Playable in foul ground for Nieves. And that retires the side. But the Mets get even. Quintanilla with a double, and Dylan G with a 2-out hit to get him home. After 5, 2-2. tomorrow night. Sean Markham returns to his old haunts against Giovanni Gallardo, who's really had a rough year Saturday. And Jeremy Hefner against Willie Peralta, who might or might not start. He's got a hamstring injury. That will be Sunday as the Mets will take on the last place Brewers. And for more on that, let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Well, Gary, you mentioned it. Zach Wheeler makes the start tomorrow. He's a little different than most pitchers. He throws his bullpen the third day after a start. You know, he told me that it's just the way he's been the last couple years. He started doing it. He said he likes it because he feels like his arm takes a little bit longer to recover, and then he could really put the full amount of work into his bullpen, and that it's never an issue on game day. His arm always feels fresh. So that's the routine he's gone with. The problem is, the routine this time for him didn't work. It wasn't because his arm didn't feel good. It's because he called his bullpen session today a waste. Asked why, he said, I couldn't do anything I wanted to do. Anything I wanted to work on, I just couldn't get it done. By the time I started to try to make any progress, I was up to my pitch limit and I was done. He was trying to get that location better. He said, I tried to come over the top and really get that fastball location. I didn't feel I did it. The really interesting thing about all of this is that Terry Collins is the one that told us to go ask Wheeler about his bullpen yesterday. But the first, I'd say, real sign of anger from Wheeler. He was, I would use the word, disgusted with his session yesterday. How that affects his start tomorrow, guess we'll find out.
And I think that was the point that Terry was trying to make, almost in some ways showing that Wheeler is not as even-keeled as he has been portrayed. And he talked about Harvey and Wheeler as guys who are never satisfied with what they're accomplishing, that they always seem to be a little bit annoyed. They always want to be doing better.
Well, I think the most important thing for Zach is tomorrow, the bullpen session's over. And how many times did I hear a pitcher tell me after a game he threw a gem that he come in and he said, I don't know how I did it. I had nothing in the bullpen. Then went out and threw a gem. So forget that. Don't worry about your command when you're pitching. It's the stuff you work on your side sessions in between starts. Get out on the mound, throw it, let it go. Let your natural ability take over.
G behind on Goldschmidt, 3-1, leading off the sixth. And Goldschmidt takes a rip at a fastball. The other thing that Terry said about, not just about Wheeler, but about young pitchers in general, he said, look, you have got to go with your strength. Don't give the hitter too much credit. Don't be so concentrating on what his weakness is. You go with what works for you. Goldschmidt muscles one to center. Lagares coming on. Can't make the catch. He trapped it. Goldschmidt takes a turn and holds it first.
Very risky play by Lagares there.
And he comes up limping slightly.
He's all right. His ball gets by him. It's a double. So he shows a lot of zest in his game. He plays it with enthusiasm, and he just has to make a little wiser choices in the field, what I've seen so far, particularly when you're in the sixth inning of a tie ball game.
I mean, he never had a chance to catch that ball. There are some where it's 50-50. That one from the get-go was going to fall. Goldschmidt aboard. Here's Eric Chavez, who's grounded out and struck out, and he lofts one down the right field line. Bird coming over to the sidewall, but that's out of play.
Gary, just wanted to add one thing on your point. What we talked about the other night on the broadcast is, end of that start for Wheeler the last time out against the Nationals, John Buck started calling a lot of two-seamers, sinkers, got outs. As we talked about, Terry hated it, and you just mentioned. So curious to see what the game calling's like. Curious to see who Terry puts behind the plate tomorrow night as well.
That is going to be interesting. That one's ripped into right field by Chavez, but over comes Bird to pick it off. And that's the first out of the inning.
Well, this is the bit of trouble inning for G, the sixth, and that's a fortunate rip right there, right at Bird. That could have been big trouble.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Cody Ross, who walked and scored in the fifth inning, he's 0 for 1. Well, the Brewers just finished their game in Washington, that 11 a.m. game, and a typical Milwaukee Brewers 2013 game. They got home runs from Carlos Gomez and Yuniesky Betancourt and lost 8-5.
Well, I've been on those teams early in my career in St. Louis. Good hitting and not enough pitching.
I mean, they have got some guys having great years. Gomez front and center. The former Met has been close to the best player in the National League this year. But also the shortstop, Gene Segura. The leadoff hitter, Nori Aoki, has been terrific. Ramos Ramirez is having a good year offensively. Even with Ryan Braun out of the lineup, it's still a very good offensive team. But their pitching has been dreadful. Led by their ace, Giovanni Gallardo. We showed his numbers before. He's not had a good year at all. 0-2 to Cody Ross.
Threw that fastball right by him. Looked like he was looking for a breaking ball. Trying to go the other way. He's on top of the plate. He just gets beat.
Well, the 6th inning ERA has not been good for G this year, or the 5th inning for that matter. Gave up a run in the 5th, 2 in the 5th. Now 1 out and 1 on in the 6th. 0-2 coming to Ross, and the breaking ball fouled off. Again, the 0-2. The runner goes. It's hit on the ground to right at third. He'll have to go to first with it. Nice backhand stop by Wright. And he gets Ross for the second out as Goldschmidt, who was in motion, moves up. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin is there for this game break presented by your Tri Honda dealer. That is a huge addition for the Nationals.
Yes.
Wilson Ramos has been out for 2 months, finally back from a hamstring issue, and boy, did they need him. Kurt Suzuki had been wearing down playing every day.
Well, we also talked about getting Bryce Harper back. His first at bat last couple of 4 games ago was a home run.
Here's Gerardo Parra, who had that bunt double his last time up that keyed a 2-run 5th.
I'm still looking for the Nationals to get a streak going, get hot. They have just been kind of chugging along at 500, just treading water the whole first half.
Well, they've again edged 1 game over with that win today, 43-42, 6.5 behind Atlanta.
What, 19 times now they've been at 500.
1-0 to Parra, and the curveball in for a strike. You're talking about Milwaukee. It's been such a strange run for them the last couple of years. 2 years ago, they won 96 games and won the National League Central. 83 wins last year, and this year they've just tanked.
That was the year they lost to the Cardinals in the playoffs.
Lost in the NLCS, yeah.
To the Cardinals.
To the Cardinals, right.
I will never forget that last game when they were going down the 9th inning and they had a pitcher. Maybe our director Bill Webb was doing that game, I'm not sure, but there was a pitcher of Braun and Prince Fielder together on the bench in the 9th inning, and they were 1 out away from defeat and losing, and they were laughing.
That, of course, was Fielder's last game with the Brewers before he left for the Tigers. Grounded down to Satin at first, and he'll take it himself to retire Parra. So G works around the leadoff hit in the 6th inning. Mets come up in the bottom of the 6th with their big hitters tied at 2. Ballpark. Got your peanuts, got your dad. All's right with the world. Got a dress for the occasion. Hello, Uncle Sam.
I can still remember when I was a kid going to the ballpark with my dad and watching the Giants play in the early 60s with my father and my brother. It was like going to school. My dad was instructing and telling us to observe, and if something was a play happened, he would explain it to us. It was we were being coached by my father.
You weren't wearing a flag shirt at the time, were you?
But I was not.
No. Times have changed. We go to the bottom of the 6th in a 2-2 game. Daniel Murphy leads off. He swung at the first pitch both times, fly to left, line to right. This time he takes a breaking ball for a strike.
Look at the mustache. It's Charlie Weaver on the left.
You know, I think after much thought over the last 7 or 8 months,
yes,
I think you made a good move.
Really? You like it without it?
Off the glove of Kennedy, but plenty of time to run after it. And he gets Murphy one away.
So you're getting used to it.
Well, looking back at that picture of you with the gray mustache, you look like an old man there. You look 10 years younger now.
An old man?
Well, in that picture.
That's a poor choice of words.
It's an accurate choice of words. I could have used something more descriptive that you would have liked less.
Oh, gosh. You can say anything you want, Gare. Your ace is with me.
Could have called you Der Alta. Here's David Wright, who doubled and scored a run in the 4th inning. By the way, speaking of 4th of July visages, you know, I know that you enjoyed it the last week when we were promoting today's giveaway item.
Yes.
The 2013 Mets All-Star gnome.
Yes.
Well, the gnome has arrived. We have the gnome, and it's quite a cute little guy.
It is. There he is. And we got it in the booth.
David takes a strike.
It's cute, really.
Yeah, it's like a little garden gnome. He's got the beard, got the little pointy hat.
The back says the 2013 All-Star Game.
He's got his ball on his bat.
And maybe the gnome needs to shave. It's a gray beard. He's got a gray beard.
That's perfect. But that's what a gnome is supposed to look like. Could you imagine if you grew a beard like that?
Well, I've always been tempted.
Might not let you in. Here's ball 4, and Wright is on with a 1-out walk.
There you go.
Picture that in gray or white. You'd be like Rip Van Winkle. That's the first walk given up by Ian Kennedy today. So the Mets have the tie-breaking run at first. Marlon Byrd at the plate. Now, if you're thinking about Wright trying to steal a base here, and he's stolen 14 this year, keep in mind Ian Kennedy is one of the hardest pitchers in baseball to run against. He has not allowed a stolen base in his last 30 starts, dating back to last year. And only 3 have attempted to steal against Kennedy.
David's been wearing those George Raft cleats, like spats.
It's a very short lead as Byrd takes a strike. Marlon had a base hit in the 2nd inning and then grounded out to drive in a run in the 4th. That's got a run in the 4th to take the lead. Fell behind 2-1, and then G's hit tied the game.
He's got his circle change grip all set. So he must not want to give away the changeup. And it's easier for him to switch to the other pitches. It is more of an intricate grip. And you think you'd have to fumble more and give it away.
Right. Pitchers always say that if you try to go from the fastball to the change in the glove, you risk flaring the glove, which gives it away.
And something that Rusty Staub always looked for. The hands of pitchers fumbling in the glove when they start their stretch or windup.
Right, not getting much of a lead at all against Kennedy. And Byrd fouls the slider at the plate, and it's 0-2.
Change up. Oh, it got him on the foot. Yeah. It's almost like a cartoon.
cartoon character, Yosemite Sam.
Speaking of bearded gentlemen.
Yes.
Oh, 0-2 to Bird with Satin on deck. And Kennedy checks in on right. Who's barely a foot and a half off the bag. The Mets 2 runs and 4 hits. The Diamondbacks 2 runs and 5 hits as we play in the 6th. Toward the hole, cut off by Chavez, gets the out at second, and Bird is on at first.
Well, one thing about Chavez, he's got a nice glove over there at third base. 2 good fielding third basemen in this ball game. It's serious.
He won 6 Gold Gloves in the American League. It's a while ago because he's had all sorts of back problems that short-circuited his star days, but he's still a very useful player.
Well, you know what? You lose your range when you get older. But anything you can get to, you never lose your hands. You know, maybe your back hurts and you don't bend over, or you can't break as quickly. Ball you got to 6 years ago, you don't get to. But the balls you get to, you never lose good hands.
Now Josh Satin, who's 0 for 2 today, started the day with a 9-game hitting streak, and he fouls off the first pitch away, 0-1.
This is the 3rd at bat for Josh, and remember he's 0 for 2 here. This is the first pitcher that's kind of befuddled Josh a little bit. Now, granted, he's going to have 2 more at bats. His day's not complete.
Five for 15 in this series. Kennedy keeping it away from him, a ball and a strike.
This is the best I've seen Kennedy pitch. I can see why he won 21 games. A couple of years ago, he won 15. I'm sorry, he didn't win 15 his first year. Or was it last year?
21 2 years ago, 15
right,
last year.
Exactly.
But he has struggled this year.
He's throwing a fine ball game here.
1-2 to Satin. Well, Kennedy, just 28 years old. First round pick by the Yankees in 06 out of USC. Never really got a chance with the Yankees before they traded him away to get Curtis Granderson.
That's right. He's another Trojan. His Jets school has put out more major league players. Southern Cal. See, I'd step out. I wouldn't want to see that wrapper coming across the mound. No thing. That's distracting. Timeout. Get that wrapper. Can't have it.
And that gets you in the line of vision.
I would not get back in the box until that blue. I would ask. I would go get the wrapper if it was not moving. Got to be focused on the point of release. That ball coming out of that pitcher's hand.
1-2, and Satin rifles a base hit. Josh Satin now has a 10-game hitting streak, and that moves Bird to second with the go-ahead run.
Well, as I was saying, folks, he had 2 more at bats. Look at this rip. He's very quick inside. Well, my Met fan friends out on the island and the areas here have been texting me about Satin, what they think about him. Everybody's excited about him.
You know, you see so many guys now trying to hit the ball into the ballpark, and Josh Satin is he knows what he is. He's a line drive hitter.
If he was a second baseman, perfect.
And he has played some second in his minor league career, but he has settled in lately as more of an outfielder / first baseman. Now Anthony Recker, who's 0 for 2, fly down and grounded out. 2 out and 2 on. We're in the bottom of the 6th. Each team now with 5 hits. Record chasing a fastball away, 0-1.
A little anxious there. Fastball out of the strike zone, away.
Had a really good at bat his last time up. Wound up pulling one on the ground to third and got thrown out. Recker's been with the team the entire year. And in more than 3 months, he's had only 57 at bats. It's an awfully tough way to stay sharp.
Well, he's got 3 home runs. 2 of those home runs were big home runs.
Batting here with 2 out and 2 on. And that nips the corner. 1-2.
Kennedy's got that outside corner on missile walk. Like a outside, like a heat-seeking missile. He's just painting the outside corner.
So now Recker has to hit out of a hole. 1-2. Just as Satin did before him. 2-2. Omar Quintanilla would be next. Mets are just 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position today, and the only hit belongs to Dylan G, who tied up the game with a 2-out single in the 5th. Two out, 2 on, 2-2 game, 2-2 to Recker.
Nieves, the veteran, having a chat. That was not a good changeup. He got away with a high changeup down the middle. You know, right now at this point in the game, tie ball game, every pitch is do or die. Win or loss on every pitch.
Kennedy about to throw his 90th pitch of the day. He threw 97 in his last start in Atlanta. Got knocked out in the 5th inning in that game. And he misses inside. Full count to Recker. So that'll get the runners in motion. Bird and Satin will be running with the pitch. Recker working a full count for a second straight at bat. And he lofts one foul. They'll do it again. Hot day on the 4th of July.
I always enjoy broadcasting day games. They're just so much more relaxed. It really is a game for the day, isn't it? Don't you feel that?
I just like the hot weather, day or night. 8th pitch of the at bat, but first I'll look in on Bird so he doesn't get too big of a jump.
Good day to get some sun.
Keep the air circulating.
You don't have all the music in the day game. You can sit and talk in between pitches, like we do, Garrett.
We do. Frequently. We get paid for that.
That's well, but on a par with us, we enjoy watching and the fans enjoy. It's a great game. Is it not?
They enjoy listening to you.
Well, no, they enjoy watching these guys play.
Oh, yes.
The people here don't hear us in the stands. They're not listening to our broadcast, are they?
No.
Maybe Howie and
only a lucky few. Recker battling hard, 3-2, and he fouls off another one.
And he's making them work. The one thing I see from Kennedy is doesn't really have a put you away breaking ball. Fastball, changeup. He'll sprinkle in some breaking stuff. I think that's why he gives up a lot of home runs.
This will be the 10th pitch of the at bat from Kennedy to Recker. Kennedy really slowing down his pace, conserving his energy, trying to find the pitch to get himself out of this inning.
There you go.
Many ways to stay cool on a hot day without the infernal air conditioning.
And trust me, folks, rain is not in the forecast today.
That's when an umbrella becomes a parasol. Strike 3 called. And Recker goes away angry. Punched out by Tim Welke. 7th strikeout for Ian Kennedy. And he wins that battle on the 10th pitch of the at-bat.
Good
Still
pitch.
2-2.
Good pitch. Pitcher's pitch.